First memory of Ron Levin was in Phoenix, Arizona, and I had talked to the director of the JCC about my desire to find someone to run Camp Shy. So they took me to the gym and showed me this guy that was 6'4" tall, curly hair, and weighed 150 pounds. And they said, "That's Ron Levin." He brought his guitar to the interview, and he sang Pete Seeger songs. And right after that, after he sang his last song, I knew I was going to hire him.
Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time ago.
My first memory of Ron goes back to the 70s, before Ron was at Camp Shy. My dad, Joe Wittenstein, was a camp director and directed a camp in Prescott, Arizona called Camp Teva. And he hired Ron in 1974 to work at camp. And then years later, my dad was the director at Camp Shy. And when he left, actually Roseanne became the director, and then he came up to be the assistant at Camp Shy.
It was quite an interesting experience to meet this young, good-looking, thin, lot of hair guy come to Camp Shy's office and be introduced at Ron Levin.
In the beginning years, Ron was a lot more laid back in terms of rules and regulations and counselors being able to go out. But we were very young. We started Camp Shy, he was just 27 years old.
They moved into the same area, and Fran and I became good friends, and the guys met, and they became really, really good friends.
Don't take this the wrong way, but he's irresistible. He's a cool guy. Ron has just turned out to be a great, great friend. The best.
Thinking about Ron, the first year that he was there as the assistant director, we were something called Poalim, which doesn't exist anymore. Ron placated us, actually. It was kind of funny. There were some issues going on at camp, and Ron came in as he was, very smooth and very hip, very cool. He came in and, boy, he had us wrapped around his finger in about 2 minutes. And we all fell in love with Ron.
He basically talked me into giving up a job with a newspaper to come spend time at camp and make what Ira Strong and I figured was 17 cents an hour.
Even then, he was a genius with the budget.
Ron is a very dedicated worker, and I wasn't really used to not having most of his attention, but a love for camp started to develop, to being away and having kids and seeing what the experience did for them.
Ron really made it so I didn't feel self-conscious about what I was doing up there. I can be as silly as I wanted to be. And I kind of kept that for the last, 25, 26 years. And it's because of him.
My dad is a simple man. He doesn't really like to buy anything for himself. He's driven the same car for 302 years and he doesn't mind at all.
He's got such a good balance, my dad, of, being so responsible and so passionate and such a workaholic on one end, and then on the other, he's just such a goofball and just wants to lounge in front of the TV and eat buttered popcorn.
My dad is one of the most genuine, compassionate, hardworking people that I've ever met.
He wakes up at the crack of dawn, he goes to work, it's still dark out, he works all day and then he drives home when it's still dark out.
He's never skipped a beat. He's just one of those people who he was made for this job.
He would read every single happiness sheet. Why are they only having a good time and not an excellent time? He cared what the kids said, and I think that that's actually what moved camp from, being the camp of 600 kids making just a little bit of money, to being this amazing, what's now well over 1,000 campers.
Ron has always had a vision that continues, never stopping, of how to make that camp better, how to make it grow.
He's probably one of the greatest thinkers I know. He loves to think, he loves to dream. Let's think big.
We added tennis courts, we added the swimming pool, we added basketball court, we added another ball field.
There was always something new every year. And I always thought, wow, that man's a genius. He's brilliant. He never rests on his laurels, and For that, I say, wow, what a mentor, what a role model, and what a leader.
I go running. I'm like this health nut now. I try to run around camp a lot, and I'm out at 6 in the morning, screwball that I am. Guess who's sitting in his office at 6:20? Ron. And I know when he closes the curtains and he closes the front door that he knows that I'm coming by there. He doesn't want to be bothered because he's stressed out. He purposely does that. But he doesn't realize that I looked to see if the drapes were closed the night before. So I know if he's in there or if he isn't in there.
Sometimes people have told me that they'll go into his office and they're talking to him and it just seems like he's meditating. Like he's just like,
Chuck's going to show up here at 6:30 and drain my cup, and I am busy right now. He doesn't think I know that. I know that.
I remember a funny story with Ron. The first staff week that I was there in '88, he said, a lot of you are going to hook up, and that's okay. That's what happens at camp, but we're 650 acres.
Find your own acre.
My first international staff recruiting trip with Ron, we went to Canada. And we land at the airport, we get the car, and Ron says to me, Brad, he goes, just so you know, you can eat whatever you want, but I'm going to really be watching what I'm eating on this trip. So we stop to fill up the car with gas, and Ron goes in and pays for the gas, and it comes out, and he has 2 ice cream bars, a Twizzlers, and a candy bar. And I said, Ron, I thought you're on a diet on this trip. He goes, I am. Usually I'll have 3 ice cream bars and 3 candy bars. I only have 2 of each. I said, all right, I can live with that kind of diet.
There are places
I think that Ron doesn't even understand when he leaves what the impact on himself and camp will be.
He's not a retiring kind of guy. He doesn't have a lot of hobbies.
I hope that Ron, when he retires, it gives him a little freedom to continue in the Jewish camping world, because there's a lot that he can give to a lot of other people.
I think the word nowadays, legend, is used far too easily and far too often. But I think in this moment and at this time, the word legend doesn't do justice to Ron Levin.
the long and winding road that leads.
The legacy that he has put down, the footprint that is now grounded, is the recipe for Camp Shy to continue in the future. What happens at Camp Shy lights something for people, and it leads them to do good things for the rest of their lives. We're building character.
Camp has completely shaped who I am. I don't think that I would be as outgoing, as easygoing, and as compassionate as I am. I think I got a lot of that from my dad, but a lot of it also just being able to grow up at camp and being able to meet so many people from all over the world.
The summer of Camp Shy, that's when I started writing kid songs. I performed at the White House 3 times. I perform all over the country, and it's because of my summer at Shy and the opportunities that you afforded me and how you let me really be who I wanted to be, and how you maybe led me in different directions too, and how you let me see what I was capable of. And I know you've done that with so many people, and I can't thank you enough. Saturday summers when I was a kid, we'd run to the schoolyard. Here's what we did.
Camp Shy will go on forever because of the magic setting that's there. It's a Jewish camp where we learn Jewish values and Jewish skills.
Whoever the characters are that are going to be running Camp Shy or making the magic happen, they'll change over time. But Camp Shy's here forever. It's not going anywhere. So we're looking back at Camp Shy at 200. That'll be amazing. And Ron Levin will definitely have been a part of that.
Right field, it's important to know. You gotta know how to catch. You gotta know how to throw.
Wait, is this Ron Merkin? Oh, is Ron Levin? Is he still working?
How appropriate do you want it?
Probably not appropriate.
Cut that. Don't put that in. That's stupid.
Turn it off.
That's why I'm here.